Hello, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366, a Weird Movies podcast. Joined today, as I often am, by Giles Edwards.
Hello, everyone.
And no guest this week. No guest scheduled for next week either. Both weeks we will simply be talking about new releases. And Giles, do you have any preliminaries or should we just jump right in?
Well, I think we can just jump right in because looking ahead at the menu, we'll be able to touch on the one thing I've added to the world of weird movie discussion slightly into our regularly scheduled program.
Well, okay, then we should do so. Let me get it. All sorts of technical difficulties today. We had technical difficulties before we started, and now I'm having more technical difficulties. So bear with us for just a moment while I get that up.
Whoa, I
Ah,
blinked. It's gotta...
and here we are. We have
Hey!
our first still of the five items we will be discussing today. And this one, Giles, you can describe what we're saying. You don't have to, you can just say who the people are, I guess, if you recognize.
I can certainly try. Why, these three people look like they're probably involved in a dark comedy. Starting with the far left, the fetching blonde is Kate Blanchett. And then in the middle, the fetching brunette is Alicia Vikander. And on the right, the fetching middle-aged man is, of course, everyone's favorite Guy Maddin. Guy Maddin.
Yeah, it's definitely the favorite Guy Maddin. Love the beard.
Yeah, it's a good look for him.
He has a big gray beard now. It's not that, but it's
It's academic levels of beard, I'd say.
thick, and it's definitely not a Pete Turbovich beard, but
No. If he lets it grow out, though, I could see this man as a Santa Claus in case his
he does. He looks like he's put on a little weight too. So
well, yeah,
he would make a
he's
sound.
what, 60s, 70s, he's in that,
Imagine he's in.
he's earned that.
Imagine he's in his 60s. At any rate, yes, these are the three. And why there's some rumors going on here. What are you
Some
why I'm putting up this still?
rumors indeed. In fact, rumors about a film titled Rumours, spelt the Canadian and British way. Um,
I was going to comment on the spelling.
Also, the way that I spell things, and I can't remember if Greg's bothered to stop changing that when he edits my reviews anymore, but
I have
yes.
to, every time Giles writes humor, HUMOUR, I have to go in and physically change it, and he cannot stop.
Well, it's humor versus humor, the American humor.
Humor, humor.
Regardless, this is Rumors.
Yes, it is rumors, and rumors is for some reason I didn't hear about this. It seems like pretty big news because I don't think Guy Maddin has ever worked with stars of this magnitude before. Two Academy Award winners, incredibly, in a Guy Maddin movie, and yet it apparently was announced in October and filmed in October, and well, we're still waiting. But there's no evidence there's no evidence about anything since October. Haven't really heard anything. Bleecker Street is behind it, so they're a distributor. It's already got distribution. I would assume it's going to spring up at a film festival somewhere, and they're probably angling to get it the best film festival premiere they can, and maybe Cannes is what they're aiming for.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't get that, maybe they'll go somewhere else. it's hard to believe. Yeah, it's been several months. If they finished filming in October, which I believe they probably did, because Guy Maddin doesn't usually do shoots that drag on for months and months.
Hmm.
It's probably in post-production, but the IMDb page doesn't have any information, at least not for those non-premium members like us.
Yeah. And the
Uh,
Wikipedia page has it under TBA
mm.
designation. So,
Yeah, but early reports indicate that the filming did start in October. Never heard, or the filming was at least scheduled to start in October, and never found out any firm information about it after that. We do know that Guy again is using Galen and Evan Johnson as co-directors. It was Evan co-directed The Forbidden Room, and Galen was also involved in it in some capacity.
hmm.
And then for Maddin's next movie, the unreleased and will probably never be released in an official version, The Green Fog, he directed with those two co-directors. And the Green Fog probably will never be released, I say, because of copyright clearance issues, because it is a collage
Yes.
movie with.
Yeah, for that. Yeah, collage, revisiting of sort of Vertigo. Well, that's the kind of thing, if I were them, I'd occasionally spit it out onto YouTube and just every time they take it down, spit it out again just to,
I think it'll show up in some form in that way, some illicit, semi-illicit gray market release, but and I'd like to see it. But this one is all we know about the plot is about a one sentence synopsis
Hmm.
that says it's about G7 leaders who get lost in the woods during a summit conference for some sort of global crisis. And I believe these two fine actresses will play leaders of perhaps Alicia will be from Sweden and Kate will be from the UK. Who knows? That would
It,
be stereotype castings.
in this case, logical too, but
Yes.
yeah.
Um, and then there's some other, those are the two big names. The other actors' names were released. And that's it. That's all we know. But since it's from Guy, I can't imagine that this late in his career, Guy is suddenly going to make a turn for the conventional after what's it been? 40 years of avant-garde.
Yeah, that well, I mean, again, then again, maybe it's, it being what we least expect.
Yeah,
It
it's
might
his
become a
version of David Lynch's Straight Story.
yeah, yeah.
But the plot doesn't sound that crazy, but I'm sure that Madden is going to add some madness to it. So everybody look forward to that. Um, we're not scooping this because we are months late in reporting it. But Giles, any further thoughts on that before we move to our next title?
No, 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 nothing to add. Looks I'm intrigued. Not many movies featuring G7 leaders as the main characters, so I
Right.
will keep my eyes out as well.
Okay. Let's move on to the next one then. This is you want to describe, we're looking at a poster. Would you like to describe it, Giles?
Sure, we've got a white background. This is a poster focusing primarily on a side view portrait. However, this side view portrait has been doubled with the individual in question looking both left and to the right with an altogether, oh, we'll call it, oh, dark aquamarine hue to the facial skin there and a look of vague concern and chopping up this uh two-facing portrait here is I don't know, maybe a series of windows, layered rectangles in oranges into pastel pinks into some blues, creating a kind of disorienting effect, which I suppose, considering the nature of this movie, is appropriate. Has a vague thrillery feel about it, as emphasized in the neck area where the back of the two heads meet, is almost a face-on view, maybe closer to three-quarter of a distressed man, quite probably in the rain, and that is right above the not too ostentatious title, State of Consciousness, and the individual looking dismayed and somewhat broken up into giant pixels, sort of, kind of weird, is Emile Hirsh, the star of this film.
It is Emile Hirsh, the star of this film, and also, I believe, the star of one of Giles's favorite films.
Emile Hirsh, because I know the face, and I
It might
recognize.
not be one of your favorite films, but I.
Oh yes, we go. Yes, he's a bit older now, as time happens to us all. Yes, I am something of a booster for the oh gosh, yeah, the Wachowski sisters Speed Racer film from 2008, which had a 2008 aged Emile Hirsch as the titular um, racer in that. And so his career obviously has been fine. And he is now in this What's It that is opening today, as you may be seeing and or watching this, or seeing and or hearing this.
Yeah, I was going to say that Emile Hirsch, he's been busy in his work steadily, but starring in Speed Racer, the big blockbuster, was not the career starter that maybe people had hoped it might be. But he has been working steadily since then. So I'm not going to shed any tears for Emile Hirsch's
Oh
career.
no, gosh, yeah, he's been in 72 TV and movie things and has 5 in the pipeline. He's doing
Yeah,
okie dokie.
he's doing okay. And he's a fine actor.
Oh yeah.
So, but I also want to say about Emile Hirsch, looking at the trailer, watching the trailer, uh, I, my thought about it was, uh, well, how did they get Michael Shannon to look so young in this? And then I realized it was
Yeah, he
was
does. Yeah,
not
that would
it was
be a
not
good.
Michael Shannon and like
No.
de-aged Michael Shannon. It was Emile Hirsch.
Yeah, and the other thing I saw him in more recently was 2018's movie Freaks,
Yeah,
which I caught at Fantasia,
yeah.
and he was quite good in that uh, as well.
So
So
anyway, did you watch the trailer to?
I did, and it was left me curious enough about what was going on to want to see it, which is just as well since I'll be reviewing it for next week. It has had all, at least according to the trailer's general vibe, has all the trappings of an oh no, mysterious time lapse past missing experience thing. What's actually going on? And there are deadly government things maybe going after this gentleman and a creepy-ish doctor woman. So,
Yeah, I think it's plot as I understand it is this gentleman is accused of murder and somehow winds up undergoing this involuntary psychiatric procedure and wakes up months or years later with no memory of the charges against him, but starts having some sort of hallucinations that may actually be repressed memories, something like that, seems.
yeah, yeah. It at the very least, it looks, if the movie is remotely like the trailer presents it as being, it'll have enough momentum to keep me interested because it seemed to have a quick pace. And I'm always very good watching thrillers because I can turn my brain off and indeed don't ever really turn it on when I watch a movie. And so whatever twists and things that will happen will almost certainly be a genuine surprise to me, even if the average viewer will see it a mile down the road.
Yeah, I confess I'm a little like that too. I often get tricked by the simplest twists because
Yeah.
I become involved. I, I let myself become involved in the movie rather than detaching and trying to analyze everything. So yeah, I think that's the best way to go in.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Even if
it's one.
afterwards you say, "Oh gosh, that twist was pretty obvious," but it's still fun to get caught by it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. This twist might be well, we don't know.
It's hard to say. It's I imagine an appropriately ambiguous trailer.
It is, we should point out, in select theaters, but not very many, and debuting at the same time on VOD, which is where you would be more likely to see it.
Mm.
And on 366weirdmovies.com, we will have that trailer up for you and hopefully a link to the video on demand version. Any other thoughts, Giles?
No. So that wraps that up pretty well.
Okay. So moving on to something that is also in theaters, surprisingly. Giles, would you enjoy describing this little poster?
Sure thing. Top third of it is the title of the thing, and above the title, a little, I'm sure, pertinent quote. The middle bracket dominating the image is I'm going to guess, a sort of ambiguously angelic winged entity with, many wings on either side. It's like a combination of an insectoid moth, a divine creature, perhaps emerging from a rippling surface while being below looks like a shadowed planetoid or moon or asteroid, some sort of celestial body, and on the bottom, taking up a combined third-ish of the screen, but split in half. On the left-hand side, there's young, generic-looking teenage boy in front of some fluffy clouds looking directly at the viewer with an expression that says he may not know what he's doing here. And to the right of him is a much more energetic entity, human shape, difficult to see what the face might be, but looks like a super powered entity with recognizable hands, arms, and such, and is hovering above a fairly distant below him forest scape, looking perhaps a little vicious, but that might just be because it's a predominantly crimson outfit that he's wearing.
Or perhaps it could be a giant robot?
Or it could be a giant robot. I know virtually nothing about this series except I keep seeing reviews for this, that, and the other version of it coming out on 366.
So you didn't see this with us, I guess.
No.
Okay. This is the quote is, "Why are you here then? Is it okay for me to be here?" And this is, of course, the End of Evangelion, the 1997 version. And let's go through this spiel as briefly as I can about the history of Evangelion.
Oh, yes.
Those who don't know, TV anime series about giant fighting robots and the end of the world with a lot of apocalyptic mysticism thrown in, screened on Japanese TV and ended in sort of a disappointing muddle for most people as the director took it off, kind of ran out of time to deliver the final episodes, and took it off into some sort of avant-garde psychological examination of the character that was also metatextual and left everyone scratching their heads. So then it got very angry letters, and maybe the director, Hideko Anno, even got some, death threat type things. He came back and remade the ending as a feature film, which is this picture. Now, and this was released in 1997 in theaters in Japan, was not released in theaters in the United States, but became a cult hit in the United States on DVD. And then years later, Anno went back and revamped the entire thing for a second time and a third ending with a series of movies that told the story probably more in the way he would have done had he had the resources at the beginning. And the ending to that was quite a bit different than both the ending of the original anime and the ending of this one. But I think, although I liked the third version of the ending, I think the second version is my favorite. It's the craziest, the wackiest, the most out of control, combined with very top-notch imagery and hand-drawn graphics. They're not quite as flashy as the computer-aided graphics from the third version, but the final apocalyptic battle here is just so bizarre, constantly shifting. There are crucifixes flying through space and embedding planets and opening up vagina-like orifices, and giant nude women and their heads in seas of blood. And then we see a shot of the audience, presumably watching the film, and it is just nutso. And it's all sort of a metaphor for the director's own depression and self-loathing. And it also starts out in medias res, in the middle of the action. And if you haven't seen the series, you'll have no idea what's going on. If you have, you'll still have very little idea what's going on. Lots of psychobabble, technobabble, various acronyms that you need a glossary to know, and so forth. And yet it holds your attention.
Well, that is, at the end of the day, I think, the most important thing for a visual story to do.
So, yes, and now it is in theaters in the US for the first time ever from GKIDS on 2 days only. Those days being March 17th and 20th. So in the upcoming week.
Sunday and Wednesday?
Yeah, make a note. If you're interested, this will be your only chance to see it on the big screen, most likely, unless it goes to revival houses. And we will have a link on our site to the homepage where you can find out if it's screening at a theater near you. It's going to get pretty wide distribution because there are a large number of anime fans who pour into theaters for stuff like this. And so that's the end of Evangelion. Be on notice. All right, and we may move. If Giles, you have no more thoughts about that.
I've never really had anything to add to Evangelion conversation, so I'm all set.
Have you seen any anime yet?
I have not, and I'm sorry.
You must have seen some. You've seen some feature films because I know you've seen the ones from Yaasi.
I
Night is Short Girl and The Night is Short Girl.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry. I've seen plenty of Japanese, or not. I've seen Japanese animation. I've seen none of Evangelion.
Oh yeah, I was just saying anime in general.
Oh, okay, oh yeah. Well, you don't. I did write a review for Urat Sokodoshi.
Yeah,
Hunting down the very limited release DVD full cut of that for the purpose.
his name is Yuasa. Not I don't know what I said, but the name of the director was Yuasa.
Oh yes, I do plan to watch more animation from Japan as I remember to.
Okay. Well, let's move on then to one that you have actually seen. I can verify, which we have talked about in great detail, and this will be most likely our final time talking about it because, well,
until we land that interview with Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yes. So Giles, you want to describe this this is probably the third or fourth variant of the poster for this movie that we put up here. You want to describe what we see?
Yes, we have another sort of bust style front portrait, this time right on front. Largely realistic as we see this striking woman with straight brown hair, prominent blue-ish eyes, and very expressive eyebrows. And this charming head is resting atop a white collar flanked by two massive, frilly, pearlescent blue shoulder pad-esque things. And emerging from this chest area of this woman, instead of a, series of buttons or some sort of necklace, is instead a sort of, what's that word? Art Deco organic waterfall-esque thing with the water emerging as if it were like white marble scrolling paper almost, and littered around this flow of water-esque marble from this woman's chest are, looks like five characters, five men in different ages, facial hair, states of attire, representing being the five men who had a significant impact on the life of the woman in the portrait. And I suppose it might be worth mentioning, since you are doing me the favor of zooming around the arc over this waterfall tunnel, are two naked marble statue-style women as further adornments to this hyper-decorated piece here.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't get us demonetized for nudity, but
Oh, you can't. No, those are just rounded area. I couldn't see any points, so I think we
as long as there are no points or hair, it's okay. And of course, this is
Poor Things, with picture being primarily of Emma Stone.
Which you kind of spoiled by mentioning Lanthimos.
Yeah, I realized that as I started, but
yeah. But it does remind me that at some point we'll probably do a little a game show, Giles, where you take posters or images and describe them, and people
oh boy,
yes, what you're describing for what movie.
Delightful.
And so, yeah, we should, because I've wanted to do a game show of some sort at some point ever since we did. Shane had his quiz show.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of Shane, I see that he whipped up an Apocrypha review for this already.
Yes.
Which posted 3 days ago, as you may be listening to this podcast. And with my 90-minute conversation with a pal tucked away in the links of interest.
Yes, and so of course the reason we're discussing Poor Things is it just won 2 Weird Academy Awards for weirdest actress for Emma Stone, and in a huge surprising upset, Willem Dafoe for weirdest actor, beating out Joaquin Phoenix for Beau is Afraid, who I thought would be run away with it. And yet people liked our little, you can barely see him there.
Yeah, off the bottom right corner, the gaunt, Willem Dafoe-ish looking guy.
But Willem Dafoe, certainly a very, very weird character he played.
And very well, as the more I thought about it when talking about it with the friend of mine, it's such a narrow line that Willem Dafoe has to walk. Obviously, Emma Stone's performance is start to finish the tour de force, a well-deserved normal Academy Award for her work with Poor Things. But Willem Dafoe's character is absolutely fascinating, having to have all these, almost objectively evil tendencies, but still being a good guy.
Yeah, that's a good
to put it slightly crudely there, but so yeah, Willem Dafoe, well deserved. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix, of course, in Beau is Afraid is similar in intensity to Emma Stone in Poor Things, in that we are with these characters for over 2 hours each, and things go strangely for them fairly constantly. So 2 great companion pieces, I might say, that in that regard of watching.
Well, have you heard the internet term shipping?
Yo,
like
yes, I have.
Bella Baxter and Beau as a couple.
Oh, Bo would have quite a lot to learn from Bella.
Yes. Uh, and their offspring could be interesting.
Oh wow. Well, there's a whole new world to explore there now.
Yes. All right. So, but yes, yeah. So it won two Weird Academy Awards and a number of lesser awards at another award thing whose name escapes me.
Hmm.
But also we mention it because it's now out on Blu-ray, which is its probably final release and final notice because it has been on uh, VOD. It's streaming on Hulu for free for subscribers with ads. And now it is finally on Blu-ray. And so people, there will be sort of what will happen is the rental price for VOD will finally drop from like $12 where it is now to a more reasonable
Hmm.
range as it ages. However, I think pretty much most people who are interested in seeing it will have seen it by now and won't be waiting any longer. And so we're probably gonna say goodbye to Poor Things.
I don't know. This is a pretty bare bones Blu-ray, all things considered. So if the likes of Criterion, Arrow, or those people eventually get their hands on it, I wouldn't be surprised if you do a quick little glimpse of like, hey, look, this is here again with all this stuff. But yeah,
Be many years down the road because this is owned by it's not going to get the Criterion
no.
anybody for a long time because it's owned by Searchlight, who are owned by Disney.
Okay, well, never mind then. Goodbye, poor things. It was good to know you.
So I don't, I think let's see what's on the release. I don't think it's that bare bones. It doesn't have everything you might expect. It does have, ooh,
Hmm.
um, it doesn't list anything on the Amazon page. However, I do know that
Oh, it can almost make out the back. Here we go. Bonus
yeah,
features.
it does have some features.
Okay, it's got deleted scenes and it looks like a little about the film documentary. What's it?
Yes. So it's not entirely the other thing is it might come out on 4K UHD.
Oh, Steelbook. Oh, we got all kinds of things we can do with this.
They might continue milking it because I think it's probably done pretty well for a prestige movie and for a weird movie.
Yeah.
And it does a really good job, I think, of being a movie that is accessible to most audiences and still doesn't compromise in its strangeness very much.
No.
Um, which you can't necessarily say about all of Lanthimos's movies.
No, you can't. This was yeah, I described this briefly in comments. This was a real feel-good movie for me. It was like, oh, it was fun and had a happy ending. I mean, wow. You don't get that much. You don't get that often actually at 366 to speak of. So, highly recommend.
Happy ending may be a little overstated. It's a satisfying ending. The bad guy, interestingly, the true villain of the piece doesn't make an appearance to third act and gets a comeuppance there. Uh, Mark Ruffalo is more for the first two-thirds of the film is sort of an antagonist, but he's definitely much more of a comic one, and his performance is definitely very memorable. All the main cast had those three especially had a great performances. Stone, Ruffalo, and Defoe, and the others were just fine. Any final words about Poor Things before we?
No, let's crash to this final strangeness that
We've talked about Poor Things quite a bit,
yes.
so and probably most people have seen it by now. If you haven't, what the hell are you waiting for? Go get it on Blu-ray or just rent it on VOD. But there is one more to talk about. Giles probably will enjoy describing this movie cover, although it might take a while, but let's see if you can do it
All right. This has definitely got a very 60s feel. A lot of that has to do with the font used for this. There's a seated gentleman in a sort of button-up sweater vest kind of thing. Look, notepad in hand, pen in hand, and his chair is right by a chaise longue on which there is a presumably a patient of some sort, certainly someone he's listening to. Through a stylized curtain in the background, you can see the Capitol Dome, and flanking almost like two pillars in the foreground, with the I'll just say doctor and patient in between, are two guards, and running along the bottom there is a whole bunch of crazy, possibly 60s, or at least what a studio executive might think 60s had to do about stuff going on, and all done with a color palette stemming from, we're looking at what, 8 decades ago now, and whatever that font is called, I want to get it and write all my stuff in it now, because this is a cover for an early James Coburn oddity that must have been riding some sort of strange wave of psychoanalytics. It's The President's Analyst is on Blu-ray at last, for all of you who may have heard of it before I did this afternoon.
All right. And so I thought you were going to go into all the groovy stuff down.
Well, we only have a minute 15, Greg.
We don't have that much.
There's a lot of groovy stuff to get into.
All right. Oh, wow. It's The President's Analyst, and it is a crazy, wild movie about the President's Analyst now, and in the 60s, and he discovers a Pynchon-esque conspiracy.
Yes, I watched the trailer, and he has one life to give for his country and 132 takers. So there's a lot of stuff that gets built up against this fellow brought in to help the mental well-being of the president. So
Yeah,
this looked great. So
it,
I may
it,
nab this.
I saw the second half of that on TV, and I've always wanted to go back and see the first half. And we're out of time. Goodbye. Okay, no, we still have a. Yes, that's now out on Blu-ray. It previously was out only in a bare bones DVD, and there are two commentaries on it from film historians. No one in,
Nice.
and we really have run right up against our time limit. So